Before we start, if you haven't watched the last episode of our series, run there and check out the previous video. You won't want to miss any details to understand what's to come in this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive notification whenever a new episode of this spectacular series comes out, and leave in the comments what you think of the previous episode. After the revelation of Gabriel's past, Clara finds herself torn between love and distrust. She confronts Gabriel about the secrets that have been hidden, and he, with an open heart, tries to explain his past choices and prove that he has changed. Despite the explanations and the sincere request for a new chance, Clara finds herself lost in her emotions and doubts. She must decide whether to believe Gabriel and risk their future, or step aside to protect her heart. What will she choose? Time is of the essence, and Gabriel is willing to wait. However, the future of the two seems increasingly uncertain, as the weight of the decisions they make threatens to change everything forever. The morning after the tumultuous meeting between Clara and Gabriel brings a feeling of growing discomfort. Clara wakes up early, but does not feel the usual relief of a new day. Coffee in the small kitchen of his apartment, which used to be a quiet routine, is now almost a burden. What Gabriel had said about his past haunts her, but the urgency with which he walked away from that afternoon is what worries her the most. He was clearly conflicted, hiding something that, it seems, goes beyond a simple difficulty with his family or work. She doesn't know what it is, but she feels that the answer is closer than she thinks. At the hospital, Clara tries to focus on her patients, but her mind always goes back to what Gabriel left in the air. She feels that he needs help, but at the same time, she doesn't know if he should be more deeply involved in her life. Something prevents her from taking this step, as if an invisible barrier is preventing her from moving forward in her relationship with him. The pressure of his career and responsibility for others are constant, but nothing seems more urgent right now than understanding Gabriel and what he's hiding. On one of her rare breaks during the day, Clara checks her cell phone as if expecting something from Gabriel. But unlike any message or call, there is an unknown number. She hesitates for a moment before answering, her heart beating faster. The voice on the other end of the line is familiar, but at the same time cold, loaded with an eerie tension. The woman on the other side introduces herself as Aline, Gabriel's ex-girlfriend. She explains that she needs to talk to Clara urgently. Aline reveals that Gabriel is not who he says he is, and that there is much more at stake than she imagines. "You don't know what he's hiding, Clara," says Aline, in a voice full of despair. "Gabriel is not just a successful businessman. He has a past that he would do anything to keep buried. I was a part of that. And if you really care about him, you have to understand what's at stake." The tone of the conversation makes Clara's stomach tighten. She tries to understand the woman on the other end of the line, but the confusion and fear in her voice is palpable. Aline insists that Gabriel has a secret that could destroy him if revealed, but she also says that Gabriel would never reveal this past, no matter how hard she tries to force it. Aline asks Clara to meet with her to understand the seriousness of the situation. Clara, more disconcerted than ever, doesn't know what to do. She feels a mixture of incredulity and curiosity, but an inner voice tells her that perhaps this meeting with Aline is the key to understanding everything that is happening to Gabriel. She doesn't know if she should trust Aline, but the protective instinct she has always had as a doctor begins to take over. If there's a chance Gabriel is in danger or dealing with something he can't face on his own, she feels like she needs to help. With a heavy heart, Clara accepts the meeting. Aline suggests that they meet in a small cafe away from the city centre, a discreet place, away from prying eyes. Upon arriving, Clara tenses, her body tense with the expectation of finding out what is really behind Gabriel's behavior. She sits and waits, watching the people around, trying to focus on what's about to happen. When Aline arrives, she is a woman of simple appearance, but with a penetrating gaze that seems to carry the weight of many years of anguish. Her face, though marked by sadness, still exhibits a quiet, almost distant beauty. She sits in front of Clara, and before Clara can speak, Aline begins the story. "Gabriel, he's not the man you think he is," says Aline, her voice low, almost like a whisper. "I met him many years ago, before he became the successful businessman everyone knows, and I can tell you he wasn't even half the person you imagine. Gabriel was a dark man, involved in things you would never imagine." Aline reveals that Gabriel was involved with a criminal network when he was younger, a time he would rather forget. She says that when they met, she was in a complicated phase of her life, and Gabriel approached her as a way to redeem himself. But what she didn't know was that he was deeply involved in illegal activities, and his connection to the criminal network only grew. She reveals that Gabriel had to leave this world after a big mistake made by people close to him, but that Gabriel's past still haunts him. Clara listens, astonished, while Aline makes her more and more shocked by the details of Gabriel's life. She didn't want to believe what she was hearing, but Aline's words had weight, a truth that seemed impossible to ignore. How could someone who seemed so perfect, so focused, have been a part of something so dark? Aline says that Gabriel was forced to cut all ties with his past, and since then he has done everything he can to create a new identity, a clean life with no connections to his old world. She claims that he has changed, that he really tried to leave all that behind, but the past, as she knew, never left him. And now, for some reason, that past was beginning to resurface in an unexpected way, putting Gabriel and, by extension, Clara at risk. "I'm just warning you because you're so involved right now," Aline says, her expression becoming more serious. "If you really care about him, you need to walk away. This game is far beyond the two of us. Gabriel won't admit it, but the people from his past won't stop until he pays for what he did." Clara is silent, absorbing every word. She feels that something is breaking inside her, but she also knows that she can't just turn her back on Gabriel, not now that she understands the complexity of the situation. She decides to confront him, but with a mixture of fear and determination. She can't let him face it alone, but she also doesn't know what to expect. Clara returns to her apartment that night, after the meeting with Aline, still processing the woman's words and the implications of what she had just heard. Her mind spins, trying to comprehend how everything she believed about Gabriel could be a facade. She sits on the couch. The silence around her is deafening, and the only thing she can hear is the whirlwind of thoughts that fills her brain. How could she trust someone who was hiding such a dark past? But at the same time, a part of Clara, more emotional than rational, can't help but care about Gabriel. He didn't seem to be the person Aline described. He had shown a side of himself that touched her deeply, and she knew he was struggling with something internal, a weight he didn't want to share with anyone. But how far could that trust go? She tries to concentrate on her work, but all she can think about is the encounter she had with Aline and the frightening revelations about Gabriel's past. She feels torn between the need to help and the fear of being dragged into something much bigger than she imagines. At the hospital, the environment seems more distant than ever. She sees patients with professional efficiency, but her mind is elsewhere, absorbed in Aline's words and how much it can affect what is growing between her and Gabriel. At night, after a long and tiring day, Clara finally decides to act. She can no longer be silent. She needs to confront Gabriel. She needs to understand why he had lied to her. He had abruptly walked away after the last meeting, leaving Clara with more questions than answers. Fear and anxiety take over her chest as she picks up the phone and types a simple message. "We need to talk. I know more than you think." Clara hesitates for a moment before hitting send. What will he do now? Will he be honest with her? Or will he keep trying to hide what's going on in his life? The message is sent, and Clara waits, but time seems to drag on. She keeps watching her cell phone screen. the minutes passing slowly until finally the notification of a new message appears. It's Gabriel. "I knew this was going to happen," he writes. "I've been waiting for the moment when you find out. Aline spoke to you, didn't she?" Clara swallows. Gabriel's tone is the same as before, but there is an unmistakable tension in his words. Clara feels like she's on the edge of something big, something that could change everything between them. She quickly answers, "Yes, Aline told me about her past. And now, Gabriel, it's time for you to tell me the truth. Everything." He replies almost instantly, "We can't do that by text. Let's meet. I'll explain everything to you. But please, Clara, don't make hasty decisions. What I told you, it's just part of the story." Clara feels the weight of his words, but at the same time, a part of her is desperate to understand what Gabriel is trying to say. She feels a mixture of anger, sadness, and compassion, but also the impulse to want to listen to Gabriel, to give him a chance to explain himself. She knows that this will be the defining moment for their future. If he's sincere with her, if he opens up completely, maybe they can overcome that barrier. But if he keeps lying, it will be the end. She sets up a meeting with Gabriel at the same cafe where Aline had suggested the first date. The place now seems like a scene of tension, a metaphor for the emotional state of the two. Clara arrives first and sits down, waiting, her body tense, her heart beating faster with each passing second. Time seems suspended. The image of the cafe, an initially simple and cozy place, now seems to be loaded with omens. Each table around them seems far away, as if Clara and Gabriel are in a world apart, alone on their journey of discovery and revelation. When Gabriel finally enters the cafe, Clara feels a mixture of emotions. He seems calm, but his eyes betray restlessness. He watches her for a moment before walking to the table. As you sit down, the tension between them is palpable. Clara stares at him with intensity, but Gabriel seems to hesitate. He looks at her as if searching for the right words, but for a moment, it seems like nothing is going to come out. He takes a deep sigh, and then begins. "Clara, first of all, I need you to understand me. I didn't want you to know that, and I didn't want it to interfere with our relationship. What Aline told you, it's true, but it's much more complex than she described." He pauses, as if preparing the ground for what is to come. Clara watches closely, but her heart is racing, and the feeling of anxiety does not leave her. He continues, his voice now softer, as if trying to apologize before he even reveals the truth. "When I was younger, I got involved in activities that I am not proud to mention. I wasn't the person I am today. I had serious mistakes, and one of those mistakes led me down a path that I didn't know how to get out of. The things I did, they still haunt me, and I know that I will never be able to completely erase what happened, but please don't judge me. I tried to change. I tried to leave all that behind." Clara watches him, her heart now a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She listens carefully to every word, but she doesn't know how to react. She feels a mixture of anger and compassion, but there's also a growing sense that she may never have met Gabriel the way she thought. She feels lost, as if everything she believed to be true is being deconstructed before her eyes. "I don't know what that means for us, Clara," he says, his voice laden with pain. "I understand if you need a break, if you need to step away. I would do the same if I were you." But Clara can't answer right away. She feels a mixture of powerlessness and frustration. How can she trust him after all this? And more importantly, how can she trust herself to make the right decision? She looks at him, trying to process his words, but all she feels is overwhelming uncertainty. With Clara determined to give Gabriel a chance, what seemed to be a new beginning for the two soon becomes a fight against the past that insists on resurfacing. As Clara tries to balance her emotions and surrender to love, buried secrets begin to unearth, threatening not only their relationship but also the security they longed for. Gabriel is determined to protect her, but dark forces linked to his past are closer than he realizes. "I wonder what is about to happen," And Clara, now vulnerable in her choices, will be able to trust Gabriel again, even when the past threatens her future. Get ready, because the next episode brings an unexpected twist that could change everything between them. Don't miss it.